Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flight Lieutenant James Kerr. We're honoured to acknowledge Ms. Rebecca Hersman, Director of the Defence Threat Reduction Agency, United States of America, and the accompanying delegation. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Numurkah Primary School visiting from Numurkah in Victoria. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us during war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Gustav Adolf Vieritz. Born 17 February 1984 in Caboolture, Queensland, the son of Carl and Caroline Vieritz. Known as Gus, he was involved in farming in Caboolture before enlisting for service in the Australian Imperial Force on the 7th of July 1917. Emil, his brother, had already enlisted. Vieritz embarked from Melbourne in late November 1917. Arriving at the Western Front by the way of England and the Middle East, he joined the 3rd Tunnelling Company. His new unit was the Royal Australian Engineers, whose job was to place and maintain mines under enemy lines. They also did underground work, such as the construction of deep dugouts for troop accommodation, as well as digging subways, saps, cabled trenches and underground chambers for signals and medical supply. By the time Sapper Vieritz joined his unit, the 3rd Australian Tunnelling Company had taken over Haulach sector in France. The enemy mining threat had ceased and the front was relatively quiet. By February 1918, the 3rd Australian Tunnelling Company was engaged in trench, shelter and tunnel construction in a quarry near Luce. In April 1918, the 3rd Australian and other tunnelling companies were forced to move from their camps when the enemy broke through Lice positions during the German Spring Offensive. The sappers were put on duties that included digging and wiring trenches over long distances. During the Allied advance to victory in the autumn of 1918, Sapper Vieritz and his unit constructed a road bridge at Moodie under shell fire. When the war was over, Vieritz was discharged in March 1919 and returned to Australia, where he married Jessie Coghill on the 3rd of March 1920. A son, Clifford, and a daughter, Merle, were later born to the couple. With the advent of the Second World War on the 7th of January 1942, Vieritz joined the Volunteer Defence Corps, a part-time volunteer force modelled on the British Home Guard. He was soon promoted by the end of the month to Lance Corporal and in March to Acting Corporal. On the 15th of April 1943, Corporal Vieritz received 3rd-degree burns to his limbs, body and face while carrying out the demolition of a flare at Stradbroke Island. He was taken to hospital, but his wounds proved to be mortal. He then died on the 26th of April 1942. A court of inquiry found no negligence, misconduct or failure to observe to any act or regulation in the part of Corporal Vieritz's death. Gustav Adolf Vieritz remains were interred at Mount Thomas Serotoneum in Brisbane. He was 48 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today at the front of the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Gustav Adolf Vieritz, who gave his life for us, for our freedom, and for the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow old not, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.